to be a formatted speech, and imagine slides up here, and the first big one says controlling your fear. At the end of the formatted speech, it talks about relaxation, but I thought, really, shouldn't that be first? I mean, before I get up here and talk, shouldn't I be somewhat composed? But don't you hate it when somebody says, relax? And so I thought about that, and I thought, isn't there a better way to do it? And I said, yes. If somebody said to me, instead of relax, it's okay. If somebody said, be calm, beloved, or be still, my dear, wouldn't that be a whole different thing? And so as we speak, I think it's something that you should consider yourself. How do you speak to yourself to compose yourself? Now, when Toastmasters talks about different techniques for relaxation, and if you want to stand with me, you can, they talk about doing different exercises. So I thought they were going to talk about, like mind things. Well, they do some of that. But it's actually physical exercises like, does anybody want to stand and do this? It's kind of like getting warmed up, Just move your arms round like this. Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. I like that. Or roll your head around. That does a lot of good. Okay. Diaphragmatic breathing. You know how to do that? Through your belly. Like that. Diaphragmatic breathing. Then there's the beginning of a salute to the sun. People who do yoga, they say just take your hands up like this, put it over your head, and stretch as high as you can. It makes you feel a little bit taller, and it does open up the gaps between your vertebrae. And the other is kegling. Does everybody know what kegling is? Okay, my son refers to them as butt clenches. It's like this, all men and women have these muscles around their urinary tract and such, and it's something that you should all be exercising it for old age. I can assure you from experience that's the case. Now, I was thinking about warming up the audience. In the vaudeville days, they used to actually warm up the audience. Somebody would come out, do a couple of skits and one-liners to get the audience warmed up and relaxed, so to speak. And reminded me of something that happened earlier this year. I did all my big preparation for an important speech I was giving, and 4 people showed up. And that was back in September or October at some point.
Numbers. Give you minutes.
Oh, okay, all right. And so it occurred to me, well, what if they gave a war but nobody came? What if you gave a speech but nobody was there? Would you be anxious? Would you be afraid? Yeah, it'd be just like a trial run. So maybe one of the techniques before you speak is to think, it's just me. There's nobody else in the room. But I was thinking about my own anxiety because it never fails. Before I give a speech, my hands always get cold and clammy. It's one of the things that I do. Sometimes my ears burn. And I thought, well, is it me? Do I make you nervous? And then you, in turn, when you see me begin to speak, he's going to go on for the whole damn meeting, I bet, today. You get nervous and anxious. Okay, and then, I put you on edge, and then you give it back to me. So it occurred to me, well, it could be my problem. I come from outside. I make big bucks out there, even in retirement. And I come in all overdressed all the time. So I thought, okay, let's relax a little bit. So let me do this. Da 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 da. Take off my tie. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, I mean, this is what I do at home, right? And I just take off my shirt. Where's the pole? Oh, I'm the pole. Oops.
Z, super Z.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, it's the Zinfandel experience or something like that.
Oh, cool.
Okay. And then I take off my shoes, put on my special slippers. Okay. I mean, everybody needs to liberate some part of themselves, right? And for me, it's the feet. If I can get my feet out of the shoes, I'm good. And then take out my pajama bottoms. No, I don't think I'll go there today. But I wanted to discuss that and have you think about it when you're preparing a speech at home. Who are you talking to? Do we have any chance of really making a connection together? Am I saying anything that they'll be interested in? Okay. Now, the screen says directives. The directive is triggers of fear or anxiety. Okay. I don't really like the word trigger. It makes me think of guns. Okay. Or you give a good speech, thumbs up. You give a bad speech, kapow! Why do they turn the gun like this, the cool guys, when they shoot somebody? So rather than do that, I thought, is there a better way to say or to describe this anxiety or fear? And I think there is. I think it's what is it in me that activates a response to my nervous system? And I carry this nervous system around with me. I don't want it necessarily, but I can't shake myself from it. And that I name it anxiety or fear. And so the triggers, according to Toastmasters, there are 4 of them. The first one is new situations. You find yourself in a new situation. Well, the antidote to that's simple, isn't it? It's just to keep giving speeches and it should go away. But I find it doesn't. My voice will occasionally still waver. My hands get cold. I get nervous. My mind starts to reel and go blank, okay? And so it's not that. It's that I can't predict the outcome. I don't know if what I'm doing is making any sense or not. I think we all live somewhere between a place where we connect with somebody else, and I come from gibber and I speak gibberish. You know, I mean, haven't you been in a conversation with someone? What the hell was he talking about? You know, and we live somewhere in there, and a lot of times we're just not connecting because we're not sure of what it is that we want to say, and we're not tuned into who our audience really is. So I think that's one thing to take a look at. And then, of course, we're afraid of failing to communicate. Am I speaking about something that nobody really has any interest in or any understanding of? I remember once I tried to make a connection between an octopus going through tubes and labyrinths in a tunnel and the tomb and the Great Pyramid. I never did make the connection, but I went on for only 7 minutes. Did I personally make a fool of myself? Okay, my wife always asks me that when I come home. You know, so being in retirement, we have the luxury when I come home, especially in Sacramento, I've kind of given up on red wine. We have some nice white chilled wine. And she said, okay, how did you make a fool of yourself today? And I've done it so many times, I'm a little more relaxed to it. So there's something to that. But it's the uncertainty about the outcome, the uncertainty about our ability to communicate that I think causes that reaction in our nervous system. And if you can kind of separate from that nervous system like it's sitting next to me, but I'm not afraid, it can make you feel better. Now, some things that you should remember about Toastmasters is that this isn't a zero-sum game. I love that word, zero-sum. You know what it means? It means there's a game and there's one winner and one loser. Nothing in between. You're either a winner or a loser. Who the hell wants to give a speech and be a loser, right? But it's not like that at Toastmasters. Okay? At Toastmasters, it's not about the score. It's about how you played the game. And Toastmasters isn't like speed dating. Okay? We're in relationship, I think, for the long term. Okay? We can permit each other our mistakes and shortcomings because we're more concerned about the relationship and how each of us grows in the organization. Okay. Now, one of the things I'd like to do is to remind you that we're all the creatures in the zoo, and you should never be nervous about being boring to anybody in the group, especially if you speak about something from your life. We're all the creatures in the zoo, and we're not predators trying to hunt any other animal down. We want to know what kind of menagerie you live in, what kind of stripes and spots and edges that you have. So you should never be afraid about boring us, especially if you're talking about something that's important to you. Now, symptoms. What are the symptoms of being anxious? Having butterflies in your stomach, okay? Your ears could be burning. You could have bloating in the bowels. Yes, talking too much can cause gas. Blanking of your mind. This happens to me regularly. Chilling and clamming of the hands, claying of the feet, drying of the mouth, flushing of the cheeks, fidgeting with your hands or your rings, lightening of your head, palpitations of your heart, slobbering of your salivary glands, shrinking of your, shaking of everything, reeling of your head, tunneling of your vision, tightening of your throat, and tying of your tongue, as well as weakening of your knees and wavering of your voice. Pick your favorite. Do you have any of those? I've got 4 or 5 of them. Now, if you have all of them at one time, don't worry about being boring. You're going to have a spontaneous combustion, and everybody's really going to enjoy the ending. Now, if you have between 3 and 5 of those symptoms, and you also are accompanied by the symptom of, gee, where did the time go? I can't seem to account for the time. Have you ever had that? You started your speech, And all of a sudden you're at the end and you wonder, gee, did I leave out a whole section? Have you ever had that? Don't worry about that. You've just been abducted by aliens. That loss of time thing, as well as some of these other symptoms, are accompanied by that. And I just wanted also to remind you that this anxiety that we experience, I think it's something natural, because when we get up to speak, we try to convey feeling, we try to convey emotion to our peers. That's a huge effort. A lot of things have to go right. You know, all the nerves have to be able to trigger the responses and the memory and the way the sentences come out. I mean, to me, that's a miracle. How the hell do we string the words together so that you probably understand what it is that I'm saying? And so when you feel some of those symptoms of anxiety, to me, it's just a gauge that tells me, okay, the machine is working. It's not working perfectly, but it's working well. And there may be some friction, and that's why my ears start to burn, and that's why my hands get clammy. Now, I have something for, oh, here it is. Please take one. And I don't want you to take too much time, because you're taking valuable time out of my speech. And so this is your personal anxiety scale test. I want you to put things in perspective. If you keep things in perspective, it'll go a long way towards managing your anxiety, okay? So read the following 12 topics, anxiety triggers, and rate them 1 through 12. Okay, the thing that creates the least anxiety to you, give it a 1. The thing that would create the most anxiety, give it a 12. And everything else, rate where you think it would fall based on the degree of anxiety or fear that it would create for you. Falling into overwhelming personal consumer debt, being physically assaulted. Moving to Sacramento is maybe more aware of that. Having your livelihood threatened. Maybe you had a bad job interview, maybe you had a case go wrong. Personal extinction. I didn't want to say the word death, but that's what that is. Losing your home. Have you gone through that? Giving a 5 to 7 minute speech at Toastmasters. Whoa. Death of a loved one, and that could be a child, your best friend, an elder. Alienating a close friend. Receiving a life-threatening medical diagnosis, maybe you're too young for that. Poor performance in a bedroom. Being held in low esteem by your peers, and that could be anything. You're just homely, bad breath, you forgot to shower that day, or you just don't speak nicely to them, you're rude. Being seriously injured or causing another serious injury in an accident. Okay, now quickly go through those. You got 30 seconds to complete this. You don't hand them in. I will ask you a single question in 30 seconds, now 20 seconds. So if you don't have time to do them all, do a 12 and a 1. But also, please rate giving a 5 to 7 minute speech at Toastmasters compared to all the rest of them. Ten seconds. Yeah, I'm ruthless as a timer.
So is one the least or one the most?
12 is the most anxiety-driven, and 1 is the least. Okay, and you can take these home and play with them as you wish, but I just wanted you to put things in perspective so that no matter what the outcome of a speech is, we're here to learn to do something together. How does it rate? How many of you, just show me by hands, rated giving a 5 to 7 minute speech at Toastmasters as a 6 or less? Okay, that's good. Bill? Oh, okay. Let's talk later. Yeah. Okay, the final part to this speech is about visualizing. Visualizing things to help you have less anxiety when you're speaking. And so I talked to a lot of people about this. What do they do? What techniques do they have? And one of them says that when he's speaking, he imagines the Savior is standing right next to him and that he can't go wrong. Another person imagines that in the front row, there's Abe Lincoln. And Abe's nodding very happily at how the speech is going, and he kind of bends forward and he says, "Are we in Gettysburg yet?" Okay. Somebody else actually does something that's kind of a psychological thing. He imagines that he, as he knows himself, is in the center of his head, as if he were the command pilot on the Enterprise. The Enterprise is his head, and he's Spock or one of those guys who's driving the ship at any given time. And it's kind of interesting when you do that. Can you do that? Put yourself in the center of your head. It really gives you kind of an interesting focus. Those of you that have smoked hashish as a youth, you know, it's kind of something like that. Another person will do the whole thing standing. And I remember one of the actors was talking about how he was delivering a role of Shakespeare, and he had to do a 10-minute soliloquy and realized that he had not moved from the spot. And so what some people do is they just plant their feet in the ground, try to do a sensation of their backbone, have the backbone extend a cord to the center of the earth, and it gives them incredible stability and grounding. Now, when you're doing something like this, this is visible. Now, I've never seen a Toastmaster do anything that's visible, okay? Unless maybe you guys do that behind my back, or you go to the restroom and do it. I've never seen you do it. But some of these techniques you can do without having to.
Knock it off, Vince.
Okay, the last part of this is, and I do have to finish this last part. If you rehearse your speech, if you spend more time working on your speech than you do making yourself up when you're going out for a big evening, or when you're doing a home improvement thing, you know how long that can take, putting all your tools and getting the supplies together before you can even begin. You're actually rehearsing it as you're writing it. That's the problem with my speeches. I'm still writing them when I'm giving them. So that's something to think about, and practice that, and at least read the speech 3 or 4 times before you deliver it. That is, if you've written it. You know what I mean? If you've written it, because you find yourself sort of fitting into the speech. I mean, I don't quite fit really perfectly into the speech, but then I remember, well, this isn't a beauty pageant. This is Toastmasters. It's okay if it doesn't quite fit right. And finally, I just want to say that Toastmasters for me is a sanctuary. I feel really safe here. I hope each of you feels safe, and that you're not alone when you're here, that you're protected and sheltered. And for me, it's a house of joy. I can talk to you about something that I think is really important and that you should know about. I get to play with words and maybe craft a thought somewhere in there. Some of you can even speak your piece, okay? And some of you have even recalled remarkable events in your life and shared them with other people. I once had a friend who said, if you're really anxious about something, the best thing to do with it is what? Give it away. Give it away, okay? Now, why do we say he gives a speech? Why do we say we give speeches? I think it has something to do with that. So the next time you have to speak, relax, be calm, my beloved, and give it away. The best way for anxiety to vanish is to give it away.